The Russell neighborhood is a historic African-American neighborhood here in Louisville, Kentucky.
West Louisville was an economic engine for this city for many, many years. At the time that you had a real industrial base that was manufacturing for the most part and producing cigarettes, you had this real energy within the African-American community, black entrepreneurs and business owners, and all the doctors and lawyers that were of the black persuasion all lived in West Louisville. But as the decline in the tobacco industry occurred, we lost 3 major corporations all in West Louisville. And the disinvestment that followed only accelerated the decline. The federal government introduced an urban renewal program for urban cities, primarily urban cities that were suffering some decline, and they demoed places and they rebuilt. Here, they didn't rebuild. They just demoed and left vast amounts of vacant land. Thousands of businesses were displaced and never was seen again. We've never recovered from that.
In the Russell neighborhood, it is divided by the 9th Street corridor, if you will.
Over time, it's been cut off from the natural development in connection with the downtown business district.
It's known for its poverty more than anything else.
Largely residential, largely African American, and largely impoverished neighborhood. I think there's very high unemployment here, very low average median incomes, very little in the way of commercial activity.
The result is that we're left with what we have today, which is a hopeless community that's suffering and trying to figure out the next steps in the future going forward. I've been involved in this work now for 27 years as the president and CEO of Louisville Central Community Centers, and we refer to that as LCCC, 3 Cs.
We have high expectations here. We aspire to be a high-impact organization here at Louisville Central Community Center through the Old Walnut Street development.
Certainly, it has a storied history in terms of the Muhammad Ali Boulevard area, which used to be referred to as Walnut Street.
When you hear the name Muhammad Ali, what do you think about? The greatest. So we want Muhammad Ali Boulevard to be a destination that has worldwide acclaim. And we believe that when we can create that kind of greatness and create those kinds of magnets, that will set the stage for job creation. And that's really what this vision is all about, is how do we create jobs?
That's when I first heard about the AIA.
The American Institute of Architects, the Sustainable Design Assessment Team, really does bring a wealth of knowledge and talent and experience.
This is a program of the American Institute of Architects. The AIA awards an SDAT to a small number of communities every year, and then they go about rounding up a nationwide team of experts in whatever disciplines we need to address the problems that this community is facing.
We're not a stakeholder. We're not being paid. First of all, we're all volunteers. And the AIA brings us here because we have areas of expertise.
We got some national pros here it's not their first rodeo of doing something like this, that will help guide us through reimagining Russell here as well.
And in 3 days, the goal is to really change the way that people think about their communities and give them a different perspective on how to address these formerly, apparently intractable problems. Our first day is our research day. That's when we ask a lot of questions. We have a lot of interviews set up. We call them stakeholder interviews. We do a little tour of the study area.
So we're going uptown now, but as we go up, we're riding past Beecher Terrace. We're riding through Beecher Terrace. So what you have here is 58 buildings of low-income public housing.
You look at a community like Beecher Terrace, which was built back in the 1940s, it is functionally obsolete. So it's time for it to be transformed.
We're going to get off here, take a closer look at this. This is the gateway, and this corner here represents the vision for why we said west of 9th. We want to create connection between the district, the business district, and West Louisville, People want to know, where's the African American culture? Where's the soul food restaurant? Where's the nightclub? And it's sad to say that it doesn't exist. So we have to create destinations along this boulevard so that those visitors, when they come to Louisville, have a place to go.
So we've done a lot of listening already today. We're going to be doing more listening tonight. I think that's really important because we do really need to tease out from the community what are the most important issues and opportunities that the community sees, and we need to find creative ways to address those.
We're going to need a community to embrace this. One way you get a community to embrace it, they be a part of the planning. That's absolutely critical.
They're the ones who live here, and I think it's important that their voice be heard.
In the evening, we have a community meeting where we invite people from the neighborhood to come in and talk to us.
Community planning is a contact sport. I think anybody that's been involved with that appreciates that. There are many points of view.
And that's why I'm going to walk the room to make sure people don't get caught up in nuances of planning and just stay focused on the big picture. Is we're trying to build something quite new here that doesn't exist in Russell. And that may not be easy for people to get their arms around.
We're only here for 3 days, and this is day number 1. And we don't come with ideas about what the answers are to this neighborhood. We're here first to listen.
A large number of members of the community came out. I mean, there was like 80 people there, and that was really great.
There's no stone left unturned in that discussion.
To just see the excitement and the ideas is huge.
Basically, what we heard has to do with people's aspirations. What would they like to see? The other things we talked about is some of their fears and anxieties. So there's some fears around displacement, fears obviously around gentrification, fears around inclusivity.
The next 48 hours will be relatively sleepless, but we'll be engaged in sharing our perspectives with one another, throwing ideas up against the wall or on the table or in the ceiling, trying to identify areas where we can come into agreement.
The whole day is just heads down, put the presentation together.
To see a whole team of people working in a room for literally 10 hours now, almost unstopped, is really quite welcoming. I'm an intense guy, but I have never put that kind of time in one room among my peers like I've seen them.
We want to be sure that we're not leaving them with recommendations that are non-starters. We don't want to have to leave and have somebody in a week say, well, they didn't think of this, and that'll never work for this reason, and then, it looks like we didn't do our homework.
We're going to have actionable steps, taking some risk there and hoping the community is willing to embrace some of those. And then I'm sure we're going to hear comments on all of that.
We're waiting anxiously, like anyone else. We don't know what Santa Claus is going to bring, so. It's my pleasure to welcome you here for our closing session.
What we're giving you, we think, are ideas and tools that you can use to help gain control of your future and help drive the future of your own neighborhood. Now, we all know about 9th Street. We all know about the perception about 9th Street. But what you can observe is that 9th Street is also not a very friendly street. It is designed as a barrier.
The first thing we want to do is slow the traffic. We want to have a bike way, so that people can walk and bike.
There's been lots of mention about an arts and entertainment district or arts and culture district. The district as a whole will celebrate those social and cultural traditions in the neighborhood and hopefully begin to change those negative perceptions about Russell.
What you're going to start to see is this pattern, this continuing pattern on both sides of Muhammad Ali Boulevard of wider sidewalks and active storefronts. And this is critical. This is critically important to connecting Russell to downtown. It's kind of developing that kind of streetscape.
Some interventions are going to take a long time for you to really see the impact of them because they happen incrementally.
I believe that it could be in 15 to 20 years that this will be the place where people will come and say, this is a new way to think about a city.
I really appreciate the detail that was presented tonight in such a short period of time. Quite fabulous, quite surprising. I love the way they talked about changing the perception, both the residents who live in Russell, in West Louisville, but also the entire community.
It's an ambitious plan. It's going to take a lot of work to get there from here. But it looks like at least a roadmap is there, and I'm excited.
It's really an independent group of people who we asked to come to this community, and they said, here's what we found, and here's what we recommend, and here's how you can get it done. So that's the next step forward, is building consensus around this plan.
I'll come back here in 10 years, God willing, and I'll be able to say, wow, look at where things have come, where what they've achieved. And that's very important to me as a professional. It's just really helping folks improve their lives.